Hello, welcome back to Be Creative. This week I am making a little book from one page inspired by Dina Wakley. You guys may have seen this floating around the interwebs a couple months ago when she was doing all of those lives in her Facebook channel. She also has an awesome video on her own YouTube channel that does a much better job of explaining how to do this than I did. You'll see. So what I've decided to do was to decorate all of my pages straight from the gate. I didn't want to do them individually. So I have a sheet of 8.5 by 11 heavy cardstock, and I've started by just laying down some ancient paint just with a brush. I'm kind of plain. I don't really have a plan. I did grab my absolute favorite stencil. It's the fractured chevrons. And I picked out 4 paint colors that I thought would kind of go together. Those are olive, buff, ancient, and marine. But as always, please be sure to check the description box below for a list of the full supplies. Again, there's no rhyme or reason to when I'm doing this. I'm literally just playing, but I did decide that I didn't really like the uniformity that the stencil gave. I don't know how I managed to stencil those on so effectively with a brush. I mean, you guys know me. Stenciling is not my strong suit. So to fix that, I'm taking some of that buff and I'm just kind of smearing it across the top while the paint is still wet to make it look like what it usually looks like when I try to stencil with a brush. Yeah, I was successful. So now I'm taking some of that olive and I'm just applying it with my fingers in like big blotches. The goal is not to create anything specific. Really, it's just to get some nice color down over the entire sheet of paper, because when we fold it, that way every single page will be decorated. If I had to decorate each page individually after we fold this and make it, it would never get done. And that's honestly the biggest reason why I don't art journal. It's because of that. So now I have my Stabilo and I am basically just scribbling all over it in 1 second. There we go. I'm going to switch to my non-dominant hand. But I've been practicing so much with my non-dominant hand, I'm starting to get much better control over it. So now I'm going to have to rethink that. Maybe I'll have to like my left foot it. I don't know. That there would be an awesome YouTube video. I'm going to draw a masterpiece with my left foot, just like that one person did back in the 70s. Anyway, I need more white space. So I've taken some gesso and I've just smeared it all over. I have actually applied a little bit too much white gesso down and I want to fix that. So I'm going to do that stenciling technique where you use the stencil to pull up paint that you literally just put down so that more of that underpainting is starting to show. It doesn't really feel complete though. Like, I don't know. I'm not really digging it. So as you may observe, there is a large glob of marine paint that is still on my craft mat. And I had intended to just kind of pick it up and smear it across this little piece of craft cardstock. And then I just had the idea of like, I wonder what would happen if I just smushed this down. And then this happened. And I was like, oh snap, this is actually kind of awesome. So I'm going to use that little scrap piece of paper with the leftover paint to make some more marks and to put back in some of the color that I had just spent all of that time taking out. And speaking of putting back in more color, I decided that I wanted to see some more of that ancient paint. That's a really pretty color and I don't use it often enough. So I'm just going to do the same thing that I did with the olive. I'm going to smear it all over the paper with my hand. And then once it's good and dry, we're going to call it a day. So before we get into the folding part of this video, I do want to preface this by saying please do not attempt this at home. Watch the link in the description box where Dina Wakley explains to you how to do this, because I just royally screwed this up. Mistakes were made and I don't even really know exactly what happened. I think I folded it wrong. I've seen her do this probably like, I don't know, 10, 20 times I've watched that video and I can never remember the right way to fold it. It's something like hamburger, slider, hot dog bun. I don't know. It's lots of foods. I think maybe I went slider when I was supposed to do hot dog bun. I don't know. Clearly no one is coming to eat at my house today. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. This is ridiculous. And I just kind of kept going with it, even though that I knew that this was not how this was supposed to go. That's why I'm not explaining what I'm doing. I don't even know if I could explain it to you, honestly. But I am using a bone folder to do all of the creases, because I've noticed that when I do this correctly, using a bone folder to crease everything. Oh, and this is a wrong cut. Like, just completely disregard disregard all of this. Using a bone folder to crease everything will actually help the book lay more flat when it's done correctly. Now you can see I have one that I've done correctly, and I've taken it apart, and I'm trying to see exactly where I went wrong. Like I said, there were so many mistakes that were made. I kind of decided to say F it. I did think about switching it out for the one that I had done correctly and just be like, I hope nobody noticed. But then I realized that the colors were completely different, and I'd never be able to pull that off. So it wasn't actually my artistic integrity that kept me from switching it out. It was basically just fear of getting caught. And you know what? I'll own that. So you may be thinking, well, why didn't you just cut all of this out? And I decided to leave it in because there are probably a lot of us who have struggled trying to make this book from one page, and I don't know, it's real. So I just decided that I wasn't going to stress it. It is not at all like how hers looks like. Again, please check the description box below for a link to her video. And I'm going to just make it work. I'm going to Tim Gunn it. So I do have a lot of cut places that I now have to cover up. So I've taken some of the Dina Wakley just regular washi tape. I've stamped over top of it with some StazOn ink. And much like what you would do in the correct version of this, I'm using it to close the sides where the gaps are, and I'm also using it to hold it together from those 2 extra cuts that I put in for absolutely no reason. And it's actually kind of funny because once I got all of these little holes and everything closed up with all this washi tape, I realized that if I had made this correctly, then I would not have had the space that I needed to collage over top of it like how I wanted. So the whole thing worked out in the end. It was kind of fortuitous. So now I'm going to start decorating the cover. And this is the front. The book's not laying correctly because of the extra cuts. And I'm just... You know what, I'm just kind of going with it. I'm going to use a little clip at the end to hold it together. I want some contrasting color, and I could have put the contrasting color in on when I was working on the whole page, but I didn't exactly know where I wanted that color to be. So whenever I collage and I do contrast, I usually use the actual collage to put in extra color. That way I have more control over the placement. All of the collage elements that I'm using, it's just scraps. Like that is a torn off piece of tag from a thank you card that I was making it just tore really nicely and I couldn't bring myself to throw it away. And then I have just some stamped images that I've cut out, but I'm not exactly sure about the placement. Again, I'm just kind of plain. I didn't have much planned about any of this other than I knew that I wanted to do the whole book full of people. So what you're seeing me kind of hem and haw over right now is a stamped out image from her Quirky People stamp set. I really like those people, but I don't know, I just wasn't feeling it. So I started digging through my stash and I found these little Tim Holtz pictures. And I was like, yes, this is exactly what I wanted. Once I get this beautiful little baby girl holding that adorable stuffed animal glued down, I'm going to take my Stabilo and I'm going to outline it. But I want the bottom part of that to be really super dark. So I have a habit of taking my little Distress Mister, and when I'm using my Stabilo, so I don't have to like go back and wet it, I will randomly just spray the mister on the tip of the Stabilo so that it's wet. I've cut all that out through the magic of editing, so that's not, you don't see that. So that way I can get really darker lines down. So now I'm going to work on the 2 inside pages. I have already decided that I'm not going to do the back because I don't want to. And I just have a whole bunch of pieces of trash and collage bits and pieces from my little stash bucket, and I'm just kind of trying to figure out where I want the placement to be. Of course, it would not be a BA creative collage if it didn't have one of those freaking orange circles in it. I'm going to try to change that up, I promise. I'm having a hard time trying to figure out where the page begins and ends, so I did just draw a line down the middle, but you're not going to see that once I get everything done. This person right here is my absolute favorite. Oh my god, I freaking love her expression. She is clearly like looking at someone and her face is saying, you know what, I am tired of putting up with your bullshit. I know that because I recognize that expression on the faces of my friends. because they are often tired of putting up with my shenanigans and horsecockery. So uh, maybe I'm projecting a little bit. I don't know, but I loved her face. So as I'm putting all of this stuff down, I realized that I actually have too much words on the page and I didn't have enough white space. So I don't have a problem going back in and adding more white space with my finger. I know a lot of people don't do that, but it doesn't really bother me. I can usually blend it well enough that it looks almost like it was, there to begin with. And when it doesn't, I like the distressed look that it gives. So I am now going to get everything glued down and show you our little finished, almost book from one page. I mean, it's still a book from one page, but here it is. I love how it turned out. I don't know that I would have liked it as much if I had actually done it correctly. I had much more space to work with. Alright guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Hey, here's some more videos that you might like, and please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button so that you can see more of my content.